This facility has been here since 2002 when the team moved from the Pontiac area, the Silverdome, when it was decided that Ford Field was going to be constructed in downtown Detroit in 2002. The practice facility moved down here to the Allen Park Dearborn area where it obviously currently is. And it was all part of the move to bring the Lions down closer to the city of Detroit, and obviously Ford Field is only 10-15 minutes up the road. And so, but this is where the team, the Lions themselves, work.
So, you know, a lot of people are going to say when they were in Pontiac, everything was in a central location. So why Allen Park? Was it just the way it was configured and not? Yeah,
there was that obvious connection to the Ford Motor Company relationship. Obviously, we're owned by the Ford family. Sheila Ford Hamp is our current principal owner and chairman. The ownership of the team has been in the Ford family for over 5 decades, and obviously around us here in the Dearborn area is where Ford Motor Company is headquartered, so that you obviously see the relationship between the Lions and Ford, and obviously the connection of our team to the automotive industry as a whole.
So even though you guys have been here since 2002, there's a lot of homage, I believe, to just the history of the team, right? So which direction do you want to go and show us?
Sure. Right now we're standing in our front lobby, but this is where guests, everyone from staff, guests, players will enter. The Meijer Performance Center is the official name of our facility here, where the players train, and half of our organization is based here as far as staff members. More of the football operation, that you have your coaching staff, player personnel and scouting, public relations and communications. We have a whole digital media team, finance, community relations. When you move downtown to the stadium, we have more of our business operation with our ticket sales, sponsorship, marketing, and corporate partners. However, it's 2 buildings, but we work as one organization. One Pride is our team and company slogan, if you will. And so, while it's 2 buildings that we're working out of, we're truly one team, accomplishing obviously one goal. So we'll step through the hallway here. This is the main hallway to the actual football facility. You mentioned paying respect to the history of the team. Obviously, lining here on the walls, you'll see some tapestries of each of these players are players that are in the Lions Ring of Honor, which we call the Pride of the Lions. Obviously, the Lions became Detroit's professional football franchise in 1934, and I already paid mention to the long-standing ownership of our team with the Ford family. When Mr. Ford passed away in 2014, the Henry Ford Museum, actually located just up the road in Dearborn, had a nice tribute display to Mr. Ford and his ownership of the team. And these walls here, the signage on the walls here actually came from that museum display, which we're very proud to honor and keep here in the facility.
You know, I have to ask you this. Does it feel surreal? I know you've been working for the team for 13 years, but to see the story, the legacy of this team, and to see where the team is now, and you walk through these hallways, and does it feel surreal working for the team?
It's I take a lot of pride, and I don't take it for granted working for a team that has a special relationship as it does with the city and its fan base. You know, we take a lot of pride in, I mentioned the relationship with the automotive industry, but you know, our fan base is one of the most passionate in the NFL, and we've seen that the last several years with Ford Field being one of the best home field environments in the NFL, and then obviously the NFL getting a taste of it by bringing one of their premier off-season events in the NFL Draft to the streets of downtown Detroit, setting record numbers for attendance, and obviously bringing sort of the NFL focus, at least for a weekend, to Detroit. So it is an exciting time to be a part of the organization, but our fans are who we do it for. So as we make our way through this main hallway here, as I mentioned earlier, this is where the Lions go to work, and what I mean by that, it's the players and coaches. So this is an example from the outside looking in here. For fans that are familiar with the different position groups that we have on our roster, each group has their own meeting room and classroom. During a regular season week, let's say we have a game on Sunday, players are in here Monday through Friday, and even Saturday, conducting meetings, watching film, you know, obviously repping that film on the practice field, evaluating that practice film, and then applying you know, the game plan week to week from the coaching staff. Behind these doors are where all those meetings take place. Where all those meetings take place, And for fans who paid attention a couple years ago when our organization was featured on the NFL film series Hard Knocks, they got to have an inside, behind-the-scenes look at how a training camp works for an NFL team. And within each of these rooms were installed remote cameras that gave fans a true inside look at a team's day-to-day operation during one of the most busiest and exciting times, which is the start of the season in training camp.
Why was it important for the organization to kind of give that bird's eye view as far as, because this is where like the magic happens behind the doors before you guys get out on the field? Why was that important?
In reference to working with Hard Knocks directly, we have a great long-standing relationship with NFL Films, the professional work that they do, and long-standing trust with producers and filmmakers on their crew that do the great work that they do. And so when the opportunity came for the organization to consider the show, it was something that our leadership deemed as the right time and right opportunity to feature the Lions on such a platform. And it was a unique experience for staff, coaches, players, all involved to begin to tell the story of this current Lions regime. And it was ultimately a positive experience for everybody involved. And I think our fans and the football world at large got to see a really unique look at the culture and the organization from a different lens. So as we make our way through the main hallway, on the other side of this wall is our locker room and medical training room, where the players really spend a lot of their time. Directly above us here, we won't make our way to the second floor, but directly above us here begins the offices for our coaches and scouting departments. So actually, quite literally directly above us here is the draft room where Brad Holmes and his staff conduct the annual NFL draft. Several meetings are held there, obviously in the off season. The general manager's work comes to light for the NFL news cycle and fan base. I'll get him out of there. When the focus flips from the on-field production with the players and coaches, Brad and his staff, their job is to go out and find the next wave of players that are going to become Detroit Lions. And all that work is done right above us here. Hours and hours of film evaluated, of college tape, and players that we are going to feel are the best fits to join the Detroit Lions in this next year's class.
So a lot of long days and hours, I imagine.
Yes, in the best way. At the very end of our hallway here, we have what we call the engine room or the weight room, where the players conduct their workouts throughout the off season and into training camp, and then they get on a regiment in the regular season. Obviously, lifting and recovery is a very important part of their training process, in addition to the work that's done on the practice field.
Are they like in here almost every day?
It's structured offense and defense. Position groups have different times that they lift. We have a dedicated athletic training staff and sports performance staff that work in unison with the coaching staff on making sure players are going through their proper recovery, going through their proper training, and obviously applying any changes that need to happen throughout the week, given injuries that happen, and obviously preserving preserving their body's workload to make it through the rigors of an NFL season. We're outside.
Yeah.
We just made our way all the way from the front to the back of the facility, and we are now on the outdoor practice field training grounds. And what you see here are two natural grass practice fields that we conduct our practices on during the regular season. And for any fans who are watching this that are maybe familiar with this space from training camp, it obviously looks a lot different. During the month of training camp, where we have public practices and fans are able to attend, the perimeter of these fields is really taken over with bleachers and a lot of fanfare and really engaging opportunities for our fans to come out here with their families. It's a very family-friendly environment where it provides really an exciting time to get excited about the Lions heading into the season. So that's the month of August, where this really transforms into Training Camp Central. But right now, for the regular season, the practices are closed. The players practice 3 days a week out here. And obviously when the weather changes, we have the ability to go from the outdoor practice fields directly to the indoor field, which we'll see next.
So most often it sounds like you guys try to practice outside.
Mm-hmm. Obviously there's a lot of space out here. Currently we have 53 players on the active roster, plus 16 players on the practice squad. So you have approximately 69 players on your roster at a given time participating in practice. Obviously the outdoor fields, the two of them stacked together, provide ample space for the players to get their work done.
Do you guys try to mimic conditions when they're actually out on the field, when they're actually playing a game? I mean, I know you can't produce rain as we saw in the last
Sure,
one.
it's a relevant topic actually, because Coach Campbell just addressed this last week, where the weather was expected to be rainy in Green Bay for our game against the Packers, and while we had wind during the practice week, it obviously was still clear weather. So Coach Campbell was discussing how different tactics were implemented, such as making the footballs wet for Jared Goff and other players to deal with the conditions that we were going to expect. So that is all part of the preparation that the coaches and players take.
How many fans can you guys have out here in the month of August typically?
About 2,500 fans would be our capacity, and like I said, for any fans who have been out here, it's a family-friendly atmosphere. We really try to take advantage of our fans being able to come out here. If going to games isn't realistic for certain fans or families, this provides an opportunity to have access to players and coaches in a really unique and personable way, and it really signifies the start of the NFL season across all the 32 clubs.
This may seem like a silly question, but I take it the team, the organization, really, you guys can feel the love coming from the fans. Absolutely,
it's an exciting time. Obviously the playoff run that the team was able to accomplish last year injected a lot of excitement into the city, and the fan base has always been loyal. And then to see what the Detroit Tigers did, earlier this fall, if you're a Detroit sports fan, it's a good time to be one.
Absolutely.
Let's say, if Coach Campbell's conducting practice out here and we do experience inclement weather that maybe comes in the middle of a drill or middle of practice, we do have the luxury of being able to transition directly inside to our indoor field, wasting only a few minutes of practice to be back on the field running the drills and efficient with their time. So this is probably the primary feature of our facility, the indoor practice field. What you see here is the original design that's been preserved since 2002 with some cosmetic enhancements since then. But as I mentioned outside, the benefit of having this is obviously weather no longer plays a factor in the team conducting practice. If there's inclement weather that starts in the middle of a drill, Coach Campbell and his staff are able to transition very quickly in here to resume practice without really missing any time efficiency. So the turf you see here is new turf that was installed last year that resembles exactly the turf at Ford Field. So obviously when the weather gets worse come November, December, the team will spend a majority of their practices in here. So during an NFL week, let's say a game is on Sunday, the players Monday through Friday are here. They're in meetings. They're working with their coaches and trainers to, get ready for the game that week. And really, what does that mean? When a players come in following a game on Monday, they meet with their position groups. They meet with Coach Campbell. The trainers perform injury evaluations. And Tuesday is traditionally the player day off. So that on a Sunday game week, Tuesday is traditionally across the NFL when players get a day off. And then come Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, that is the core practice portion of the week. So on a given day, let's say tomorrow's Wednesday, players will come in probably prior to 8 a.m. If guys choose to lift in the morning, if they have medical treatment, anything to get their bodies ready for the day, they have that option. Then there's a meeting schedule that they adhere to, both as a team with their respective position groups. And then there's practice. There's prepping for practice itself, followed by watching film of that practice and what was installed, what is being worked on, what is specific to this week versus maybe what the team did last week. So all in all, on a given day, I would say it's common for NFL players and coaches to be here working 12-plus hour days. Coaches much later, you would assume more so than the players, but they're here working full days. If you look around the facility, up on the walls there are cameras installed in the pillars of the walls here in the indoor field. Okay. In addition to, there's a dedicated coaching video staff that their primary responsibility is to document everything pertaining to practice and game film, both with the Lions and across the league. So film is everything with football preparation, and so it's very important to, if there's a game plan being installed, players and coaches are working on things specifically on the field. If all of that's being recorded, they then have the ability to go back in their meeting rooms, evaluate it, watch it together, point out what needs to be changed, and apply it the next day. So that's a very important part of the preparation for players and coaches is our football video staff.
How important is it to make corrections or adjustments in real time after seeing that film? immediately following practice.
Yeah, that's really what it's about. Is football's a team game. It requires 11 players versus another 11, and practice in the NFL is structured that way to where there's specific periods that are being worked on, and obviously filmed and recorded with the purpose of being evaluated and corrected or changed, perhaps for the next day, and it's all leading into preparation for the game. We are here in what we call the team meeting room when Coach Campbell meets with the team as a whole, whether that's coaches and players. This is where that takes place. Typically to start the day on a given week, this is where he holds his team meetings. And for fans who are familiar with the Hard Knocks show and maybe remember seeing Aiden Hutchinson perform his legendary version of Billie Jean, this is where this took place.
Legendary.
Legendary. For those who haven't seen it, I encourage you to watch it. The word grit has been a big part of Coach Campbell's culture, obviously since he took over as head coach in 2021, and it's designed to embody, the hard work ethic of the city, and really it's become a word that I think a lot of our fan base identifies with.
Let's talk about the uniforms.
Sure. Here at the front of the lobby at our Meijer Performance Center are 3 mannequins displaying our 3 new uniforms for this year, which were unveiled in April prior to the season. The home blue, the road white, and now the alternate black jersey, which is worn specifically with the new blue helmet, are all new this year and have been so far unveiled for the regular season. The overall theme of this year's jerseys, sort of a slogan was having a modern take on a classic, similar to what the Ford Bronco did with their latest version of the Bronco. Sort of took that to heart with the design of these, and these are the end result.
Was it important, kind of like what we talked about earlier, where you're kind of blending what's happening now with this particular team and what in this history before?
Absolutely. I think we've seen a lot of fans be receptive to these uniforms this year, given the homage it pays to Lions jerseys of the past. Some of the block lettering, the color combinations matches with what you might have seen a Chris Spielman or Barry Sanders wear back in the late 90s. So we've seen a lot of positive fan reception to the modern classic rendition of our uniforms.
I like that, modern classic.
Yeah.